So we've talked about this on the podcast a couple of times now, but my wife and I are expecting our second kid pretty soon here. Technically next Friday, but we'll see what happens. But today, and why I'm bringing this up, today we're watching the game and I'm on the couch. My wife's next to me. She's more or less looking at her phone more so than the game. But Michael Rasmussen does this outstanding toe drag snipe far side high glove. And I just go like, holy shit. And like yell. And mind you, our 3-year-old sleeping upstairs. Thankfully, he didn't hear me, but my wife is just like, Tony, you cannot surprise me like that. You almost put me into labor. So I almost didn't make it to the show tonight, guys. And it would have all been thanks to Michael Rasmussen.
Well, now we know what to get you for your baby gift, a Michael Rasmussen onesie. I don't even know if they make these. And on that note, I'd like to thank you for coming up with this cold open because it was better than the one I had, which was having salad in my teeth for the last 3 hours and none of my coworkers telling me.
Welcome to the Flying Octopus Podcast, offering a new perspective on Red Wings hockey, as well as all the important news from around the NHL. And now, here are your hosts, Tony Wolak, Devin Little, and Evan Sabrin.
Hey, it's Carter Bear, and you're listening to the Flying Octopus Podcast.
Welcome to episode 60 of the Flying Octopus Podcast. I'm your co-host, Evan Sabrin, joined as always by my cohorts, Devin Little and Tony Wolak. We have a special guest tonight, Raiders fan, and also from the Hockeytown West Podcast, Travis Focht is with us. He's going to be joining us now and then, as our very own Tony just told you. He's getting ready to welcome in his second child, Quinn, who we're still hoping will manifest into a Quinn Hughes acquisition for the Red Wings. On today's episode, we'll recap Thursday night's game versus the Anaheim Ducks, in which the Wings offense came back to life in a 6-3 win. We'll also talk about the Red Wings' recent 3-game losing streak and our level of concern about an offense that kind of went flat for a couple games there. Red Wings recalled Nate Danielson this past Sunday before the Blackhawks game. We'll talk about how he's fit into the lineup and what head coach Tom McClellan had to say about his addition to the roster. Plus, Devin will close us out with some news and notes. There were some significant things that happened across the NHL this week. So let's dive in. Wings' 3-game losing streak comes to an end with an impressive 6-3 win over the Pacific Division leading Ducks. I know we were all a little down on this team after watching the offense disappear for the 3 games versus Vegas, New York, and Chicago. Wings put up 6 goals in this one after scoring only 2 during that 3-game streak. Nice to see the offense get back on track for now. John Gibson did not come out to start the third, and we're still waiting to hear what happened with him, but an impressive win nevertheless over a Ducks team that, I get to see a lot of out here, and I can tell you, like, this is a young team. I didn't think they would be this good this fast, but I can tell you 2 to 3 years from now, they're going to be one of the top teams in the West. Wings were 2 for 4 in the power play tonight, while the penalty killed off all 3 power play opportunities for Anaheim. Tony, I'll start with you. What did you see in this one that you liked, and did this ease your concerns after this goal-scoring drought the Red Wings were going through this past week?
Well, the offense is back on track. You love to see that. There's 3 5-on-5 goals, 2 on the power play, and another empty netter. 6 goals is obviously something that you'd hope for every game, but it rarely happens. But more importantly, this team snapped their skid. They snapped their losing streak. They snapped their offensive drought. Now it's up to the team to sustain it. Like, this was a great one game for the Red Wings. They generated a good number of high danger chances at 5-on-5, and they held the Ducks in check for most of the night, even after John Gibson left with an injury. I think we'll get more into that in a bit here, but it was a great one game, and we've seen this team to be pretty streaky. So hopefully this is a start of a streak and not just a blip, but the team was playing to their potential. And that's exactly what you want to see when you're really trying to break out of something, is a team stepping up and saying enough's enough. We're going to go out and prove to our team, to our coach, to the league that we are a top tier team. And they beat another great team in the Ducks. That's exactly what you want to see from a team that, really needed to win.
The biggest cause for optimism from me in this specific game is that for a little while there, it was very back and forth. Red Wings would score, and then the Ducks would score quickly after, and then Red Wings would score again. and then the Ducks evened it up again. Literally went 1-1 or 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, and then 4-2, and then the Red Wings started to really take control of the game. It felt like the kind of game where in previous years, where the other team is continuing to answer the Red Wings goals, the Red Wings would fold, or at least wouldn't continue to push like they did in this game. So for them to, just kind of, even though Anaheim was responding, just kind of be like, that's all right, we'll get the next one. And they did. That's a sign of improvement, even from just last season and seasons past. But yeah, overall, like you said, Tony, just kind of felt like a reverse of all the trends we were seeing heading into this game. Good scoring. Really, 3 goals against isn't ideal, but good goaltending, honestly. And just overall pretty solid team play. They were resilient. They stuck with it, and they have a pretty good win in their win column now because of it.
So I totally agree with you, Devin. I think goaltending was the only reason that game was tied after the first period. Gibson made like 3 or 4 saves in that first period. That was like solely the reason that it was tied. And it sucks that he got hurt. Obviously, I'm sure we'll dive into that. To see the offense kind of break out was important, right? They've really struggled to find some offense the last few games. Good to see the power play got back on track. The first one was horrendous, but it seemed like they went back to their original units later in the game, and that worked for them. The only thing that I noticed, and I texted Evan about it, like that really stood out to me is their speed. Like you could see, like right off the rip, Anaheim's just skating circles around them. Like they've got quick players that, like when these young teams play against them, they really, if they're not playing well positionally, they just get out skated because of the youth and speed of some of these teams. You've seen it out west in Anaheim. You've seen it when they played the Sharks too. There was a lot of speed in that game. Today, early in the game, the Ducks had a lot of pace, and Detroit was struggling with that pace early. But all in all, to bounce back and find a way to win, look, how many years in a row has this team like gone on a skid of 3 games and then it extended to 4, 5, 6, 7? If you can end skids at 3 and then get back on your winning streak of maybe 3, 4, 5, your peaks and valleys aren't as bad as they've been in the past. So it's good to see they got back on track.
We tend to, and I'm probably most guilty of it, we tend to live in the moment with this team. And again, Devin and I have always talked about the roller coaster ride that has been the Red Wings since him and I started podcasting together, and even now so. But there's going to be these streaks, these up and down streaks. It's all part of the growing process, but they are frustrating, and it is hard to watch them score. They had 2 goals in that 3-game losing streak, and like the offense will disappear. I'm not to say the chances were there in that Chicago game. They really were. They outshot the Blackhawks 46-20. That Kane empty net goal, I think any one of us here could have popped that one in. I don't know about you, Trav, with your broken hand, but it's all part of the growing process. It's a frustrating process, and I think that we're going to see a lot of these ups and down streaks as we pander on through the season. So I'm curious, Tony, your level of concern about how this offense comes and goes as the season tends to play out.
It's a good question. Like as a whole for the season, the 5-on-5 offense has been pretty lackluster. And this is something, again, like I've been harping on for the last couple of weeks now. You need your 5-on-5 offense to carry the team. Like you can't rely on special teams. We saw what happens when you do that and special teams falter, you fall apart. That was the case for the last 3-4 games, really. But again, all facets of the game were firing on all cylinder against the Ducks here on Thursday night. So that's great. I guess moving forward, I want to see more 5-on-5 offense from the entire roster. Like I'm not concerned about Dylan Larkin's line, whoever's on it. Everyone else, there needs to be support. And we saw that. Like, again, Michael Rasmussen with a goal scorer's snipe that almost put my wife into labor. It doesn't have to be just the fourth line. It could be like we saw Mason Appleton step up early in the season. We saw JT Compher score a couple goals recently. It can be whoever. It just other lines need to, carry some of the load too.
Really kind of goes to show how little 5-on-5 offense the Red Wings have been getting, that Michael Rasmussen had that beautiful shot and like it spurred that kind of reaction, right? Like there's like 2 levels to that. It's bottom 6 scoring has been almost non-existent, and then Michael Rasmussen scoring has been almost non-existent too. So twofold there. But I guess for my part, my concern level, not high, but it's also not 0 for sure. Like you said, Tony, you win games at 5-on-5. You can't rely on special teams to win night in and night out. It's just not a recipe for success, like you said, like we've seen over the last few games here. Having said that, though, the Red Wings are not the Tampa Bay Lightning from 4 years ago. They're not the Boston Bruins from 2 or 3 years ago. They're not the juggernauts of the league. When you're the juggernaut, you're kind of expected to dominate night in and night out. The Red Wings are very much in that middle tier of teams that you don't necessarily know what you're going to get on a nightly basis. You expect them to be competitive more often than they're not, but you kind of go into every night knowing that there's a possibility that you're going to see a stinker, for lack of better words. So to that extent, I think the Red Wings they're just kind of showing who they are. Now, having said that, there's absolutely room for improvement. And it goes back to that point. You can't expect to win games and make the playoffs if you're not producing at 5-on-5. But I guess the reason why I'm not like overly concerned is that they don't look worse than I expected them to look. They could definitely look better, but they look like the type of team that they are.
I think for me, like the biggest thing, like you said, is 5-on-5. And then for me, the one thing that really stands out some nights, and you see it like just watching the games, like I feel like sometimes they lack that true alpha mentality. Like there's something missing within, like some nights it's give a shit and some nights it's just drag into the fight. Like I think they've got guys that'll mold into that, like right with Seider. I think Edvinsson showed some mean streak in the past. Kasper's kind of like got that like attitude, but they don't have like that veteran guy that like will drag you into the fight, right? Like look at the team they just played tonight with Anaheim. They got Trouba, they got Gudas. Those are some guys that like when you got a lot of young players, like if you're going after them, you're going to have to answer to those two type of players. Like just something that I feel like they need is a true like alpha mentality guy. And I don't know that they have that at the moment. But the other thing for me, like I said earlier, is speed. So speed, 5-on-5 scoring, and occasionally just like that junkyard dog mentality. That's like what sticks out to me is like their biggest like worry for concern.
Speed goes hand in hand with 5-on-5 scoring too, because like if you think about it, a lot of 5-on-5 opportunities are generated like off the rush or off a turnover, like man rush, what have you, as opposed to just cycling the puck in the zone and then scoring, right? Dylan Larkin scored that way. Michael Rasmussen scored that way. These types of opportunities, they're generated by speed. They're generated by closing in on the puck quickly. They're generated by like suffocating teams and players specifically as soon as they get the puck, like create a turnover, take the puck away, hit the player. Doesn't matter. But like if you're closing off quickly, that's less time to think about what you're going to do next. And then before you know it, the Red Wings have the puck and are going the other way. That's something that they really do need to work on is generating more opportunities that way of like just forcing the issue in the neutral zone to quickly go and transition the other way and create opportunities, because that's been missing. It's something that they were actually really good at 2 years ago and then kind of blacked last season. It's kind of continuing on into this season as well, but need more rush chances for sure. But they also need to, close play off efficiently in the neutral zone to generate those to start.
I really like Travis's call out about them lacking alpha mentality, because I agree with it. I think that there's games where one guy might take control. I think we saw Larkin do that early on in the season, but he's not doing that consistently enough to say he's the alpha, he's that guy. I think that Patrick Kane shows flashes of the player he was a decade ago, and that guy was kind of an alpha too. But he's not the player he was a decade ago. Certain players flash it, but they don't maintain it. And I kind of wonder, is it going to be a thing where we just got to wait for some of these guys to develop into that alpha and develop that alpha mentality? Or are they going to have to look outside of the organization? Because I do think that's kind of definitely a missing ingredient, and one that may end up holding them back when we get down to the nitty gritty and they're playing important games in March.
I mean, the only thing I would say, like, yeah, so I guess you could look at it in two different mentalities. Like, I think you kind of take that with the guys you brought up as like the alpha mentality of like leading the offense, right? Some nights I feel like they need that alpha mentality, like when they're losing games, like that game against Chicago. Like they need somebody on the bench to like step up and be like, guys, like you've heard Todd say it, like, when's enough around here? Like it's time to change. And like, I think I look at teams like Florida, look at that team before Matthew Tkachuk got there, super skilled, 100-point teams. When he got there, the whole vibe changed across that team. Now they add Brad Marchand last year. Like you need some real like on the edge players. And I feel like that's something this team lacks. They don't have that guy that kind of rides the line. Like Tom Wilson in Washington's another one. Like some of those guys that like, and you see like the potential of it of some guys at times. Like in the past, you've seen Rasmussen like last year against Jersey when he like big brothered, was it Hughes, I think, on the open net goal last year. Like you've seen it, like there was that vibe, but like he's not really a comp to those type of players. And like, I don't know, like I feel like that's just one area that they sometimes need that identity, but they don't have that guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like that's an area of need. And they have it. Like Austin Watson's in GR. Like I've seen it in person, like how personal he takes some stuff. And like, you know, I've only been in like the post game a couple times, but like talking to Nick and Brandon, they're like, that dude is like the guy of the room. Like he commands that room. Like he doesn't wear the C. Like Dominic Shine's another one down there. But like they got these guys with this mindset of like, we're not going to take shit from people. And I feel like that's where Detroit lacks at times. Like it seems like when things go bad, it falls off the rails quickly. They can't stop the bleeding quick enough. That's where they need a guy, like just somebody that's got that mentality.
For history fans here, that's exactly what the Red Wings did when they acquired Brendan Shanahan. After so many years of good teams, but didn't have that killer instinct, then they got Shanahan, and that's exactly the missing piece they needed.
No, it's funny. I said that to my dad yesterday on the phone, that exact comp. So it's just funny you bring that up.
Yeah, I keep telling my husky he needs to be more of an alpha too, but he's a house cat. Like if there's ever an intruder, he is gonna get some belly rubs and go on with his day.
All right, well, it's time for Tony's favorite segue here, and that's when I say we're shifting gears. And I do want to talk about some changes in the lineup that recently occurred, and that forebearing is Nate Danielson was brought up to the team this past week. And Todd McClellan's comments were, I felt very interesting what he said, and I think a lot of people try to read into that. He said this.
Well, we have been struggling offensively. Nate, had he not been hurt in training camp, I think he would have started with our team based on where he was when he did get injured. So he worked hard to stay healthy. He had an upper body injury and he was able to keep his legs going. So that didn't go away. And he's had a pretty good start in Grand Rapids. So we wanted to see him now so we can make some decisions, perhaps on some other players. And that, for him, for his first game, I thought he did some real good things on the ice. It's unfortunate that he leaves, like the rest of the players, with a loss, but he as an individual certainly wasn't our problem.
Now that seemed like a real big call out, and I think that statement can be read in a lot of different ways. But Tony, what did you think when you first saw those comments?
He did walk it back a little bit. At first, I was like, "Is there a trade on the horizon?" But no, he walked it back a little bit, and then it was more so about just wanting to see what Nate Danielson can do at the NHL level. And like honestly, like the guy had he had an inside shot at an NHL job before the preseason ended, but of course he got injured. We all know the story, and now he's up with the team, and he looks the part. I think what I like about Danielson is that he is very much a cerebral player, and he makes so many little smart plays, even if it's just holding onto the puck for an extra second. There were a couple opportunities. I think it was in the third period where the Red Wings just missed a couple of goals off of Danielson passes. Either the player wasn't expecting it, it bounced off someone before it got to the shooter. But once Danielson is playing with, and this is no shade at Marco Kasper or Mason Appleton, but once he's playing with more talented players on a regular basis, we're going to see some points from this dude, because the way he thinks the game and processes it and goes out and plays it, man, like there's a reason why the Red Wings drafted him. Like it's not exactly going to show up in juniors or maybe in the AHL, but like when you put this player, this very smart player, out there with other players who have very strong hockey IQ and who can shoot the puck, this guy's going to be a distributor.
I'd say that all of that is why whenever people online would, voice their concern that Nate Danielson's not going to live up to his draft slot, and oh no, did they whiff on this guy? Pretty much entirely because of a perceived lack of production in Grand Rapids last season, which always cracked me up because he produced more points than Marco Kasper did. But he's a player that is not completely encapsulated on the score sheet. He does a lot of things that do not go recorded on the score sheet. Like you said, Tony, he makes those little plays, hold on to the puck for an extra second, open up a passing lane or a shooting lane, whatever that is. And he back checks like a dog, like a rabid husky, maybe even. He's like you said, he's a cerebral player. Like we talk about alpha mentality. I almost think that he's somebody who could develop that in time. And just a sense of kind of taking charge of the team. He's going to be the guy on the bench going, guys, we got to turn this around. Like, wake up. We got to wake up. He was a captain at the junior level. He's got experience in that kind of role too. So again, that's why, when people were telling me they were concerned about Nate Danielson as a prospect, I give it time. You're not seeing the full picture if you're just kind of pulling up his elite prospects page, because there's so much more to his game than just raw production. And raw production's not the only reason why you draft a guy in the top 10. You draft him because he's going to be good at both ends, and because he typically makes the players he plays with better. And I think that to some extent we're seeing that in the early going here in his first few games as a Red Wing.
So I haven't watched him in person as much as Nick and Brandon have. They've obviously been at every game. The games that I was at last year and Nate played, like you said, not everything he does is going to show up on a score sheet. But to Tony's point, like, this guy is going to be a setup machine if you put him with a guy that can shoot the puck. And I made a statement, I think on our show, like, I think by the end of the year, he's going to be with the Brinket in some capacity. Like, he's too good of a passer to not have an elite shooter with him somewhere. Doesn't matter if it's on his left or his right. They got to find somebody that can shoot the puck with him. They had him with MBN for a short stint before he was coming up. And it's just like, the vision, it's when you see it in person, the first wow moment I had of him was like in Grand Rapids. They were playing Cleveland and they were on a power play, and Nate would so you got the guy running the umbrella right at the top of the point. Nate was to his right, kind of that flanker off to the side to the right, and Nate would come up to the blue line and make a circle, and then they'd give it to him at the top of the circle. And it was either like going to the net or it was going straight across the ice. And I can't tell you how many times it would go straight across the ice through 2 or 3 guys and be on the guy's tape. Like, just precision passing with him. His vision's unbelievable. Like you said, the little plays off the puck, back checks. Now to the Marco thing. Like, this is where with me, I love Nate. Like, I think Nate's got a little bit higher ceiling than Marco does myself, just for the simple fact that you got to remember when Marco came to Grand Rapids, he had parts of 3 years already under his belt in the SHL. 2 full seasons and then a few games the third year when he was younger. And Nate outperformed that as a rookie and literally got thrown to the wolves. Like, he was not supposed to play that much last year in Grand Rapids. They had no other option. It was him. Like, he had to do it. I think he learned a lot last year. I think he would have made the team out of camp this year. But like with him, they have to find some elite shooters to go with him. Not to say he can't shoot the puck, but his vision and his creativity offensively with being able to pass the puck it's really good. Like, you're going to see it at points and you're going to go, wow. And it's like, yeah, he can really pass the puck. He's a good distributor.
Real quickly, what did you guys think of the lineup combinations tonight? DeBrincat, Larkin, and Raymond, of course, but Kasper, Danielson, Appleton on that third line. Thoughts on that? Were they playing him with the right players? I do like seeing Kasper with Danielson. Are they going to shelter him, though, in that third line role?
I did not like how the lines were set up. I mean, it worked out. Like, can't deny that. But, Detroit stacked the first line, and they got production out of the fourth line. In between, there were some good plays from the Danielson, Kasper, and Appleton line. But overall, it was kind of like a 50 split in terms of output from them and then whoever they're lining up against. Like, they didn't dominate the game by any means. But the second line did not think that it was a good decision to put Emmett Finney, JT Comfort, and Patrick Kane together. It just that combination of stuff is not in it. And it's sort of like what's left over after the Red Wings stack the first line. So, like, I kind of get how they arrived at that, but I don't know. I would prefer to see some of the players, and I mean, if you're going to keep Raymond and Larkin and DeBrincat together, fine, but just shift around the bottom nine a little bit to make things work. I don't know, like put Kane with Casper and Danielson, see how that goes. Nothing against Emmett Finney, but like when you have Finney, you have Comfer, you have Kane, you don't have a shooter, you have a puck distributor in Kane. Comfer who's just there, and then Finney is a puck hound. So like, that's just not the right combination of player traits. So I like glad they won. We'll probably see the same lines again. Maybe one player switches out for JVR or Soderblom, but yeah, that second line it's kind of a problem.
I agree with all of that. And I would say that the reason why that top line looks the way it does right now is because, a while ago they needed to get DeBrincat going. DeBrincat had not scored, and he had been pretty steadily on that second line with Casper and Kane. And so they threw him up there with Larkin and Raymond, reunited that line to kind of get him going. Well, here we are, and I'd say DeBrincat has finally gotten going. He's starting to look like the player that we all know he can be. So now I agree with Tony. I agree with you, Tony. They're probably going to just, roll it back for the next game. Don't fix what's not broken. But I think that now that DeBrincat has been kickstarted, he can go back down and reunite with Kane or reunite or play with Danielson, like we were talking, or like Travis was talking about. You don't need him. He can now be like the engine on a line, basically. And kind of to your point there, Tony, Patrick Kane, you got to have him on a line with someone that he can play off of. Again, like you said, no offense to JT Compher or Emmett Finney, but those are not the types of players that you want him playing off of. Finney's the type of play. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Emmett Finney between DeBrincat and Kane. I think that might be kind of fun to look at for a little bit. But even then, that's not necessarily my first choice. I guess my point there is that Compher's not your second line center. And like you said, I get how they ended up with this combination of lines. But if there's any takeaway I have from the lineup right now, it's that DeBrincat's good now. So he doesn't need to be stapled to that top line anymore. You have more options because of it.
I think for me, there's just so many like avenues they could go. Like, loved the Rasmussen, Kopp, Appleton line through the preseason, through the red-white game. They had a great training camp together. We've barely seen that since the season started. Where they're at now, like the thing with Finney, like he's got to play in the top six or you got to send him to GR. To bury him in the bottom six doesn't make any sense. I think he fits the best with Larkin and Raymond just for the total hockey sense. You've seen it work early in the year. I totally agree. I don't think it works with Kane and Compher. I don't think that really meshed well today. That's where, I mean, you're kind of just handcuffing yourself to a point with that. But it goes back to like, at this point in his career, is Patrick Kane really a second line player? Probably not. Like, you probably should be playing your third line power play, but they don't have any other options. Like, that's just what they have to do, right? And I think I loved that Hamonic went out, Bernard Docker came back in. Like, I think that's good. The issue there, I think they got to figure out, like, do JBD and Johansson, are they too much of the same together? Like, maybe, I don't know, right? Like, I think they're still missing a piece on the back end somewhere to kind of properly slot guys out. They're missing pieces everywhere still. That's part of like implementing youth, developing. But I didn't love parts of it. But like you guys said, they made it work. And I get why they put DeBrincat where they did. They kind of had to get him going, get that confidence going. We'll see where it goes.
I personally would like to see the Casper, Danielson, and Berggren on the third line. I feel like Berggren always never gets a fair shake, and he shows flashes at times, and I'd like to see. I don't think, like I just said, I don't think you can move Nate Danielson up to a 2C role just yet. But I also don't think Compher works there. But maybe in time, that's something the Red Wings do down the road here this season. But right now, I'd like to see that line. If they're going to shelter Danielson, play him with some people who can play off of him. And I think talent-wise, I'm not sure Appleton's one of the guys, but Casper and Berggren and Danielson sheltered in a 3C role could be beneficial to this team. All right, we've hit on that enough, but I do want to touch on the goalies really quick. John Gibson going out tonight. I still haven't got an update yet on the injury as we are recording this on Thursday night. Tony, where do the Red Wings go from here? is Carter Geilander the call up from Grand Rapids? How do they what happens next here if Gibson does have something long term? I don't think it was anything serious. It didn't really appear to be that way, but I didn't really see much that would have him not come out for the third period. Talbot was fine in the third, but he's not a guy you ride. They're going to have a different option. So is Carter Geilander the call up?
So just to recap, John Gibson left after the second period of Thursday night's game with an upper body injury that was revealed after the game. In Grand Rapids, Sebastian Cossa had been day-to-day. I think he is trending in the right direction to possibly play this weekend. TBD. Michael Postava is out a little bit of a longer term. So goalies in the system, you have Cam Talbot, you have Carter Geilander, who just got called up from Toledo to Grand Rapids. You have Dustin Tokarski, who just got signed to a PTO with the Griffins, and that's it. So I guess it all depends on if Costa's okay, right? And how long Gibson will be out, if at all. But yeah, I do think we might be seeing another goalie dress for the Red Wings in maybe the next couple of games, but willing to bet Talbot gets the start the next game and probably thereafter. I mean, looking at Detroit's schedule, they do have a back-to-back that they're coming up with. So it's Saturday against Buffalo and then Sunday in New York City to play the Rangers. In theory, you're probably going to need another goalie to start one of those games, and hopefully it's Gibson. But I don't know, man. We might see one of our guys from Grand Rapids pretty soon here.
I think so much of this really just depends on what we hear about Gibson. Like if it's just kind of a day-to-day thing, then I guess there's still a chance that you see Geilander make a start, just depending on the severity of day-to-day. But I'd feel a lot better about day-to-day than I would week-to-week. Week-to-week, I think you're definitely going to have to get somebody who's going to play a game or two because, like you said, Tony, you can't, or like Evan, I think, said, you can't ride Talbot indefinitely. It's going to be very interesting. And then I guess, depending on Gibson's timeline, then maybe Cosa's timeline comes into view here because like you said, Tony, he dealt with a minor injury. And like you say, he seems to be trending in the right direction. He'll be playing for the Griffins again soon, but I don't know that they're going to immediately, once Cosa's got the green light to play again, be like, all right, go to Detroit and potentially play in New York City against the Rangers. No, I don't think that's what the plan would be. I could be wrong about that. They might have no choice in the matter, but I think that everything that the Red Wings have done with their prospects to this point in my lifetime tells me that they're going to give Cossa the time to get his feet back under him now that he's missed a couple games, get comfortable again, and then assess from there. So I right now, almost 11 o'clock at night, I'm guessing Geilander gets the call up. He'll back up Talbot in the first game, and then we'll see what happens that following day. Maybe Talbot has an easy night, and then they can justify playing him that next game too. And then maybe Cossa does look really good. Like he gets a game with Grand Rapids. He's ready to go. Then he goes up. There's just a lot we need to see in the next 48 hours really before we can definitively talk about what this goalie situation is going to look like, a week from now when we record again.
Boy, I want to start this with, remember last year we had too many goalies? And everybody was like, why does Yzerman hoard the goaltenders? It's like, well, we had, 2 or 3 in Detroit at one point, 2 or 3 in Grand Rapids, and we even had 3 down here at one point. But yeah, listen, we don't know, right? Like Gibson if it's upper body, maybe he did take 2 to the mask, so you maybe think concussion protocol. Maybe he clears that and he's fine, right? And none of this matters. And now onto the other part. Like they only have one guy under contract, so it would have to be Carter at the moment, pending the severity of what Cosa's dealing with. Now, based off of what Grand Rapids did today, I would say that Cosa's not ready for tomorrow or was not in tomorrow's plans for Grand Rapids. So with that being said, they're going to have to practice like tomorrow, Detroit. I would assume they're going to need a goaltender. Do they sign a guy? I mean, first one that kind of comes to mind with just familiarity would be Reimer. And then if you got to waive him, send him down, like you got guys dealing with injuries. I don't know. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying it's a potential option. Now for the Carter thing, yeah, it's crazy. He played in Toledo last Friday and could be in Detroit tomorrow. So within a week, he could have played in Kalamazoo, played 2 games in the American League, and then would potentially be in Detroit, which for the person, because I know Carter, that's really cool for him. He's a great kid. But I don't know that they would put him in a situation to where he maybe has to play a game. I think if you had to ride Talbot for a back-to-back, you probably do it. I'm sure he's done it in the past. Then now this brings into the Kosa thing, right? Like if they have to call up Gylander for a day or two until Kosa's ready, like if Carter has to back up Saturday, but say Kosa's like could play Sunday, right? You said they're in the Garden. Pretty sure the Rangers have really struggled to score at home. So is that really the worst option in the world? So I'm not saying that, again, that's probably not the best situation to put Kosa in, but I wonder if they have to use a call up, if they call up Gylander just for like maybe a day, 2 days until they can get Kosa up there, if he's that close. Or if maybe they just like, if they think Kosa could at least maybe back up, like, do they just call Kosa up? Like, that's still on the table also. It's wild we're in this scenario. Like, if you would have told me in September that there's going to be a point in early November where Carter Gylander could potentially be the first call up of these goaltenders to Detroit, I'm going to be like, what the hell happened here?
Same thing with Emmett Finney, and I didn't have Dustin Tokarski getting mentioned 15 games into the season as a possible replacement. We're going to start the wrap here, but Devin's going to hit on news and notes really quick. We just got a couple of things before we say goodbye. So, Devin, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Earlier this week, on Monday, they had the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Zdeno Chara, Duncan Keith, Alexander Mogilny, finally. Joe Thornton, Jennifer Botterill, and Brianna Decker were the players inducted into the Hall of Fame. Always fun to see not only who gets inducted. Every year that announcement's always got a lot of, buzz around it, but also just to kind of see the camaraderie. I know I saw a big picture of for Duncan Keith, it was like, it seemed like the entire 2013 Chicago Blackhawks team was there to be there for him. That's kind of cool to see. Hopefully in the not so distant future, we're talking about Chris Osgood or Henrik Zetterberg being inducted, but that's for another show. And then my other note here, prominent, notable, successful, a lot of superlatives I could throw at him, but New York Post writer Larry Brooks did pass away. The news of that came out Thursday morning. Long time New York Rangers writer. Folks that are in the media industry, you gotta respect people that have put their time in and really established themselves as like a name in the industry. It's really hard to do that. And obviously the New York market can be really unforgiving for people that can't show up and do their job. So, my condolences to the Brooks family. Congratulations to Larry Brooks on a very successful career. And I guess my condolences also to New York Rangers fans for losing a beloved reporter.
Yeah, that's a tough loss. And he was a big time writer, someone I'd followed too. We're going to be wrapping here, guys. Red Wings, 4 games between now and the next time we talk. I know, Tony, you mentioned Saturday at home versus Buffalo. Then Sunday they head to Madison Square Garden to take on the Rangers. Tuesday they're back at home to take on the Kraken and then hosting the Islanders on Thursday. And who knows, Tony could, number 2 kid could be here just by then. I can't believe literally that Rasmussen could have put your child into labor. That's just an amazing story that you're going to have to keep for the rest of your life. I don't know if I had that option. I don't know if Rasmussen's the guy I would have chosen for to put my wife into labor. I'm more of a Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider guy. I mean, Seider scored 2 goals tonight. You could have used that one instead. And by the way, while you were talking, I looked on Fanatics. There is no Rasmussen onesie, so we're going to have that custom made. Hopefully, in the next couple days, hopefully maybe it's on one of these Red Wings games days that somebody scores, and whoever scores the last goal will get you the onesie for little Quinn there when she comes. So congratulations to Tony on that. Any final thoughts, guys? I want to thank Travis for being here from Hockeytown West Podcast. We're doing a collaboration with them this year. Travis is a godsend for coming on short notice. So we really appreciate that, Travis. Guys, please check out Hockeytown West Podcast. I'm literally looking something up on my phone here while we were talking. And because my ADD kicked in, and I'm looking at this hockey news articles, and what do you know? There's Hockeytown West featured right there in the hockey news talking about Michael Postava. So these guys are big time. I'll get everything you need to know about Toledo Walleye, Grand Rapids Griffins, all the Red Wings top prospects. These guys are on top of their game. Travis, thank you for joining us today. Tony, I'm going to give you the final thought since you're the new dad to be. Well, you already have one, so 2 to be. We're hoping it's the prophet Quinn Hughes. But any last thoughts before you might take a little paternity leave from us?
It's exciting what's in our future here, and I'll be listening to you guys while I'm on leave. But looking forward to seeing more content from the Flying Octopus podcast, and I'll be back, sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, let's hope the Red Wings go on a little streak here, and let's go Red Wings.
Well, congratulations, man. And that'll do it for episode 60. And sorry we didn't have a Red Wing that wore that number, so we didn't have a podcast name for it. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the flip side next week.
Thanks for listening to the Flying Octopus Podcast. Follow us on YouTube at the Flying Octopus channel and Twitter at Flying Octopod.